So here's something interesting in that. So he says all scripture is inspired by God and beneficial for teaching, for rebuke, for correction, for training, and righteousness. So it would be fully capable and equipped for every good work. Okay, so here's another meme or something that I've seen about, typically from non-believers. It's like, if you need a Bible to tell you what is right, then you're probably a pretty awful person.
Sure.
So what do you think about that?
They're right.
You probably are.
We are all awful people.
We are all.
That's why we need the Bible. I mean, like I would agree. I would say, yeah, and you're not so far off too. I mean, I'm a pastor. I'm saying that about myself. Like we are awful people.
Yeah.
And that's why God gave us His Word, because we're too dumb to get it right ourselves. Right.
Well,
is there a nicer way of saying that? I don't know. I mean,
really.
I would sugarcoat that for the non-believer for sure. I would definitely not come out that way. That's coming out swinging. But if the person did ask and say we're all living in denial.
Yeah.
Because, and this gets into that universal question of what is good.
Yeah.
What is good in your eyes and what is good in my eyes may not be, because it may be good for you to kill me because I killed your brother. And so you find it pleasing to revenge that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not good to me. I don't want to die.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could come to a logical understanding of that.
Well, I'm saying, like, so good can be subjective, but when you have a biblical worldview, there is no good that is subjective. It's objective. God has said, in fact, God has said, no, vengeance is mine.
Yeah.
So as a Christian, unfortunately, you don't get to shoot nobody.
Right. Because that's what, well, Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. Well, no, I think that's perfectly said. And, you're looking at it of saying, we're taking the Bible and saying this is the standard.
Right.
Again, going back to that, like, this is the standard for truth. It's not subjective. It's objective.
Yes.
It's not based on my feelings. How you feel may determine what you think is good. I think, to your point, I think here's a real life example. The Aztecs thought it was good to sacrifice human beings to please their deities.
Right.
Okay. So you stand here today and you say, you need the Bible to tell you not to kill? How could you not come to that conclusion? Here's an entire civilization.
Right, that was based on that.
Yeah, it was based on the idea of killing. And not just a civilization, but a civilization that today is praised for how advanced they were with certain elements of mathematics and how they built their structures and all these other things. Egyptians, same way.
Sure.
Right? So there is time and time again, there is evidence that it is not always clear to man that killing someone is the wrong thing to do.
Right. So let's flip it. When is it the right thing to do? We're not going down that road right now.
Well, I got a list.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, so flip that argument, right? Was it good for us then? So you're saying killing's wrong, and we know killing is wrong. Okay. But flip that back on to World War II, the Nazis, and all the Jewish concentration camps, basically, a cleansing, if you will, of Europe. Was it good to kill the Nazis? You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So is there a time when it's – see, these are quite – and that's – I'm not getting into this debate right now, but what I'm saying is it's easy to begin to debate it, and then if you do not have a standard at which tells you when is it good –
right.
And we're not even talking about killing anything.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, and this is – I was telling you earlier about a conversation I was having with a family member about some of their issues with the Bible, and he talked about God commanding the Israelites to kill –
Sure.
To wipe out these individuals, right? And I think it's kind of telling because, again, there's this objectivity and there's this idea of looking at it from different perspectives. And like, if you were alive at that time and subjected to the things that the people of Canaan did,
yes,
you would say, why isn't God stopping this?
Right.
If there is a God, why wouldn't he prevent them from doing these horrible things?
Most certainly.
But because you're removed from that and you benefit from a society that was built on Christian Judeo values,
right,
you instead look back and say, how could a God who was good kill all these people? Because you've supposed those people were like you.
Right.
Those people were not like you. And there's so many other theological truths that have to be unpacked in that conversation that if you're not reading the Bible, reading Scripture, understanding who God is, what his character is, what is true. So yes, we need the Bible to tell us what is right and wrong.
When we tell people that they're barbaric, we're actually saying we're referring. I mean, there was actually the barbarian. You know what I mean? Like that was a real world, and those were real people back then. You know, and so I think that like you said, But yet we like to think that, and this is where we make the mistake. We like to think that our worldview is universal.
Yes.
Like that it's been throughout history, that we needed someone to tell us that enslaving people is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, you're benefiting from the fact that who said that? God. I mean,
right.
He set a standard years before you got there, know?
And again, if you're not reading the Bible and studying the Bible, you're going to come to the intellectually inferior conclusion that God was a proponent of slavery.
Oh, for sure.
Because you also don't understand the context of slavery and the time in which the Israelites lived.
For sure.
When you compare what happened with the early Israelites to what society did around them, God created freedom for slaves.
For sure.
Right? So, again, you've missed it.
Yeah.
Because you're filtering everything through an immediate lens instead of through a infinite lens of who God is.
Right. That's the only universal lens is because universal means it's tried, true, always, now, forever, and will be, is God's word. Because it's God. Here's why he's universal. By nature, and like I said, if you just peel back all those peels of the onion, you find that God exists outside of time.
Yes.
Meaning he is, will, and will always be. That's why he is truth, because he is beyond. God's going to be around long before you, or he was around long before you and I. He will be there after you and I die, long after you and I die.
Yeah.
We'll be with him, thank God. But I think that's where a lot of us miss it. We universalize our own personal opinions and perspectives and fail to see that like what Timothy says, that's where wisdom is. Yeah. Wisdom is God. God is wisdom.
Yes. Yeah. And then we look at John 1:1-5. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and apart from him, not even one thing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of mankind. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not grasp it.
Right.
I think, in context of everything we just said, that is who Jesus is. He's been there from the beginning, will be there to the end, was there before the beginning, if you can understand that concept of being out of time. And that is why, if everything was created through him, it would make sense that everything should be filtered through him. Our understanding of everything should be filtered through God.
I always like to look at Jesus and his appearance, and or whatever you want to call it. It's not appearance makes it sound like Jesus is a magician, but his incarnation. Let's just use the real term here on earth is almost like a meet and greet with the author, right? Like you guys, I gave you the text, I gave you all the commands, I gave you all the things, my worldview, all my expectations, and you can't get it right.
Yeah,
I've tried. Only that's why I'm sending my son to help you understand them. And then he also boils down, when they ask him, hey, Jesus, what is the greatest command? He boils all 600 some odd commands, that all Levitical law. He doesn't say, oh, the greatest command is you can't wear two different types of garments. Like, that's not what he goes to. He goes to the greatest command is the Shema, love your God with all your heart, your mind, and love your neighbor. He simplifies everything down to two commands because he understands the heart of God's truth is love and freedom, not law and judgment, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's good. I think this is where deconstructionists will miss this and agnostics will miss this, is they'll say, well, Jesus said that the greatest thing you can do is love. You have taken this out of context.
Right.
He said the greatest thing you can do is love God with every aspect of your being.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Which means and infers obedience.
Right.
Which infers understanding what he understands, which infers chasing after what he wants, not what you want.
Right. How can you love your neighbor if you don't know how to love your neighbor? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? Because Jesus doesn't, when he says, and love your neighbor, he's giving all of the Hebrew folks around him and the Greeks and all those people who were there, he's giving them clear context. If you love your neighbor, you will do these things. Yeah. And it's not worldly things, it's godly things.
Yeah. There's a definite understanding of what loving your neighbor looks like.
Right.
And then he takes it further and says, love your enemy.
Right.
But then at the very beginning of all of that, the greater commandment is to love God, which means to serve God.
Right. to follow his worldview.
That's right.